As you heard in the morning announcements, later this week I'm going to be beginning a class on Unitarian Universalism in which we're going to explore together the meaning and the heart of this chosen faith of ours. And this morning I want to kick that class off by exploring with you what this religion is all about. This is a question that I continue to wrestle with from the very first day I ever walked into a Unitarian Universalist congregation, and I continue to wrestle with it. And I want to spend some time this morning sharing that wrestling with all of you. And I want to begin with a definition of Unitarian Universalism. Now, this definition, I haven't been able to find it on the website of the Unitarian Universalist Association or in any of their many pamphlets or brochures. But I have to say that of all the attempts that I have ever heard to explain in a short few sentences what Unitarian Universalism is all about, this definition, or perhaps I should call it an analogy, is the one I have most frequently heard in my 13 years as a UU. And it goes something like this. Unitarian Universalism is like an enormous buffet in which one is offered a wide variety of spiritual and intellectual dishes from which to choose or not choose. As a UU, you can take a taste of Christianity. You can take a sip of humanism, maybe even a dash of Buddhism or Hinduism. The buffet that is Unitarian Universalism really consists of just about everything. Everything from the world's religions and spiritual traditions to modern science, art, poetry, etc., etc. In Unitarian Universalism, our sacred texts are the universe and all of human experience. Now, I don't know about you, but I've always found this buffet analogy to be pretty compelling. Rather than confining ourselves to one source of truth or one sacred text, Unitarian Universalism recognizes what I have long believed to be true, that no one religion or book has all the answers, and that there must be more than one path, one truth, and one way of understanding the meaning of existence. But I have to say that even more compelling for me than the image of the buffet itself is the fact that when it comes to religion and the spiritual life, Unitarian Universalism places supreme value and importance on freedom. Freedom of religion, freedom of belief, and freedom of conscience. Here is a religion that says to me, Tim, you are on a journey, and where that journey leads is ultimately up to you. We're not going to tell you what to believe or where to journey. You are free to step up to the buffet, to taste different things, to test out different paths, and to craft your own journey. A journey that will be meaningful and authentic for you. Most of all, as a Unitarian Universalist, you are free to be yourself and to follow your own mind and your own heart. As a Unitarian Universalist, you are free to be yourself and to follow the longings and the yearnings of your mind and your heart. I have to say that when I first became a Unitarian Universalist, and ever since then, I have found this message to be so very exciting and liberating. The freedom to explore, to question, to doubt, and to change one's mind is essential for living a life that is spiritually meaningful and authentic. But I have to say that the longer I'm a Unitarian Universalist, the more this buffet analogy, however compelling, the more it also begins to trouble me. When I think about it, when I think about all this wonderful talk about my freedom and my choices, I sometimes feel that as Unitarian Universalists, we see religion as being almost entirely about the individual, about my needs, my freedom, and my beliefs, rather than about us, about we, and about the wider world. And I have come to realize that while the freedom to choose has empowered me to seek and to explore my own spiritual path, it also left something missing. Because you see, it didn't meet my deep-seated hunger for connection to something greater. You see, I've learned that I need a religion that is more than a buffet of individual freedom and choices. I need a religion that challenges and inspires me to reach out, to serve, to be generous, to be connected, and to make a positive difference in the world. The longer I've been a Unitarian Universalist, the more I've come to understand that what I need from this faith is not simply a buffet of choices and spiritual options, but rather a calling and a mission that challenges me to see beyond my own needs and concerns to those of a world that is struggling, a world that is broken by injustice, by fear, and by hate. And folks, I'm here to tell you that in the last few years of this living tradition that we call Unitarian Universalism, I believe our faith has found that calling and that mission. And that mission and that calling is captured by a single phrase that fits on a t-shirt. And I'm going to show you mine. It's this t-shirt right here. For those of you who don't have X-ray vision and can't see so far away, this t-shirt says on the front simply, "Standing on the side of love." Standing on the side of love. And I believe it is that simple call to live and act with courage and compassion on behalf of love. I believe it is that call that is transforming Unitarian Universalism from being a buffet of individual choice and freedom into a faith that is coming together to transform the world into a marvelous banquet of love and justice for all people. So I'm going to pause for a moment now to tell you the story of this t-shirt. It's pretty nice, huh? Bright yellow. Pam was telling me she doesn't care for bright yellow. I won't tell you what she said it makes her look like. I'll leave that out. But it's bright and yellow, and it catches people's attention when we're out in the community wearing them. And I'll tell you a little story about that a little later. Now, you see, Standing on the Side of Love is actually an organized campaign for justice and human dignity launched by the Unitarian Universalist Association a little over 2 years ago. The campaign's mission is bold. It seeks to end oppression against all people, and in its early years has focused much of its energy on marriage equality and the rights of immigrants. Now, I don't know how many of you have heard of this campaign or have heard of its launching. It hasn't created a wellspring of wave of huge change in Unitarian Universalism, although it's had its moments. But I got to tell you something. I think the launching of this campaign and the move toward this idea, this mission, it marks a key turning point, I believe, in the entire history of Unitarian Universalism. Although Unitarian Universalism has had a long and dedicated commitment to the struggle for social justice, I think prior to the last couple of years, I think we have been a religion that has primarily been focused on ourselves, on our individual beliefs, and on our individual spiritual journeys. I think we've spent far too much time, and this is my opinion, caught up in debates between theists and humanists, caught up in conversations about what sort of language we're allowed to say in church, that kind of thing. That's all interesting and important. But I have to say, in the last few years, something is stirring in Unitarian Universalism, I think, that is moving us beyond these kinds of issues and questions and moving us towards getting out beyond the walls of our churches to help heal a world that is so broken. Now, the origins of standing on the side of love go back to something that happened to Unitarian Universalism 3 years ago. Something pretty terrible. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. I'm sure those of you who were UU back then remember this. It happened in one of our congregations in Knoxville, Tennessee. On a Sunday morning, during worship in late July, an individual professing to hate the liberal values that Unitarian Universalist stands for, and especially our acceptance and celebration of gays and lesbians, perpetrated a terrible act of violence that I'm so sad to say took 2 lives and shattered many others. I still have vivid memories of the Knoxville tragedy. I remember the courage and the pain endured by the members of that congregation. I remember the many candlelight vigils held in Unitarian Universalist congregations all across North America and the world. And most memorably, I remember watching the streaming video of the service in the Knoxville congregation the Sunday after, when they returned to their space and rededicated it to their mission and their shared lives together. I remember Carol and I were sitting at our dining room table watching on the laptop, and it was just the most profound service I've ever attended, and of course I wasn't even in the space. We were sitting there with our arms around one another. I remember tears were coming down both of our cheeks. And it was just incredible to watch these folks who just a week earlier had had the safety of their space and their lives violated, to watch them come together with their arms around one another, holding on to each other, singing, praying, finding strength in each other's company, and most of all, recommitting themselves to this faith and to what we stand for. Recommitting themselves to love. Recommitting themselves to keeping the doors of their church wide open to all people. And recommitting themselves to stand together on the side of love. I have to say that in that moment, as I watched those courageous people in that space, I could feel in my heart something in this faith turning and being transformed. And I think it was in that moment that Unitarian Universalism was forever changed. In the aftermath of that terrible tragedy, I believe the walls of comfort and privilege that have too long shielded us from the wider world, I believe those walls came tumbling down. In that moment, we came to realize that the world needs something more from us than a buffet of spiritual options. We learned that what the world needs more than anything else is love. And it was in the aftermath of Knoxville that this campaign was started and these beautiful t-shirts were created. And that is how we as Unitarian Universalists, I believe, have grown and changed as we look to the future. Rather than being consumed with hatred and bitterness, we have put on these yellow T-shirts, marched for marriage equality and immigrant rights, and stood together with the marginalized and the oppressed on the side of love. Since this campaign has been launched, one of my favorite stories, which I think is profound, has come out of this. As groups of Unitarian Universalists wearing these bright yellow shirts have marched in Phoenix, Arizona on behalf of immigrant rights and elsewhere across the country, and marched alongside members of other faith traditions and all kinds of groups, they've gotten a nickname. And I love this nickname. When these shirts show up, I've heard that the other groups say, "Oh yeah, I know them. Those are the love people." Those are the love people. Yes, indeed. That's who we are and who we need to become. We need to become the love people, working for a world of love and compassion for everyone. And it is that universal, boundless, and all-inclusive love that I believe is at the heart of Unitarian Universalism. As Robbie Walsh said in his meditation, we believe in love. We believe love is possible in this world. And we believe, as Robbie says so beautifully, that we are called, that we are required to be the agents of that love. And friends, I simply want to conclude by saying that as Unitarian Universalism looks forward to its next 50 years, I think we've got a goal. I think we've got a mission. I think we've got a big purpose. And it's this. Our mission, our goal, our purpose is to put love in the driver's seat of human history. That's what we're about. That's what we are called to do. And I think that's the journey that we are beginning to make as a faith tradition and that we are beginning to make right here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Akron. I hope all of you will join us in this mission as we stand together on the side of love. Thank you so much for listening, and blessed be.